Welcome to another episode of the Voodoo Monkeys. Today we're talking about the very first blockchain hashing algorithm, which is Bitcoin. Currency literally invented by running code on the internet.
Yes.
It blows my mind.
Yes, it's nothing physical, it's all online, and every Bitcoin has its own code, which a lot of people get confused, and I do too, because then I heard, which made me think, it's like, well, my bank account's on my phone, right? It's still numbers, isn't that digital? It's actually like, no, those are just kind of numbers. If you hack into your bank account, you can just make those numbers bigger.
Like, when you put money in your bank account, it becomes way less real than cash. Like, real money.
It sure does. The bank
but Bitcoin is as unique as a bill.
It is.
So that's pretty interesting.
And more so.
And that's a real good, valuable thing about Bitcoin.
It is, but that bill can also be split 1,000,000 times.
Yeah, Bitcoin you can chop up and still use.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
and
if you ever try to pay something with $50,
yeah,
it doesn't work.
It even has its own ecosystem where you can run a node, and it does cost money. Well, it does cost something to send Bitcoin to another person, but it's just so little that it makes the banks look silly. And the person that's just running the node on their computer or even a phone, they can get that little bit of money for just having their phone running. And
that's really cool.
And making your transaction authentic.
Just since your stuff is on, you make money.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, you can go buy the HTC Exodus, and it is a node phone, and you can use it as, you can exchange Bitcoin with it too, and it's pretty cool. It's a wallet. You can also buy hardware wallets. I just got mine today.
I wonder how well it runs other things. There you go, the wallet of the future. It's like a flash drive.
Yes. These ones are apparently not the most safest. If a hacker apparently does get into it, they can still get your stuff, but just, don't let anyone else touch it.
Makes sense.
Same with a credit card. Credit cards are worse nowadays.
Is it RFID protected?
There is no RFID.
No, you can't like scan it like you can with a
I don't
chip
believe
card?
so. Yeah, and that's what's the problem with the bank. They're chip cards. Anyone can walk by and either hit your wallet with a machine or just take your card and tap it on some other machine. As long as it's less than $100 or whatever you set it to, it just goes through. No questions asked.
I think it's pretty hard to pull something like that off. Like, the actual coding is pretty ridiculous.
Oh, to go that far, yeah.
I haven't really looked at it, but I know just enough about code that it gets really hard to keep track of, and you really have to know what you're doing if you're going to mess with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to dip my toes in that. But Bitcoin is cool because it's international, right? Like you said, you can change it from one spot of the world to another spot of the world. Bitcoin's Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You don't have to change it from, I got to route it through some
There's
South
no
American
bank
country
wiring and anything.
Send it to Europe and
what? Just contact that person and you say, what is your wallet? And it transacts. It goes through a node and bounces around, and it does take some time. It costs a little bit of fees, but again, nowhere near what banks do when it's like 3 to 5 days and it's going to be 7% or whatever. This is like a fraction of a percent, and it'll take probably an hour or two.
Bank fees and stuff. I wonder if there's any jobs that pay in Bitcoin. I guess there's got to be out there somewhere. I'll pay you in Bitcoin. But Bitcoin's worth so much right now. How much is Bitcoin worth right now?
Bitcoin is worth right now $8,858 US dollars, mind you.
So like, what if you get paid in that and then it goes down?
Then your value goes down. If you think about it, though,
so much money and you're like, oh, I can't pay rent anymore because Bitcoin went down. Like, if that was our main currency, it could go pretty bad, or it could go just keep going up, like most things do with stocks. If you look back far enough, like stocks, it's always increasing, right?
Mm-hmm. But
even
you're
though
thinking
there's crashes
in the wrong term. If you're getting paid in Bitcoin, you could possibly pay your rent in Bitcoin, so then the price of it doesn't matter. You just have that set Bitcoin price. So if you got in early, then maybe in a couple of years, your rent is actually a fraction of what everyone else is paying.
So you should pay a year at a time.
But in the same scenario, a lot of banks right now are printing money to bring us out of the COVID crisis, and that means that same situation is happening to your bank account right now. That money is being devalued just because it's sitting in your tax-free savings account or your savings account that's supposedly getting interest, but who knows anymore? And even then, if you want to go pull out all of your money in cash, there's a chance you might not be able to.
Yeah.
Which is really weird.
It's literally true. There's not as much real money as there is fake money.
Yeah, if everyone pulled out their cash, everything would kind of collapse. So, stop the revolution! And it's really weird. I watch
watch Christopher Titus, man. He was talking about this years ago. The Neverlution. He has a comedy bit, stand-up comedy.
Oh.
He goes, it's like, the banks are so fake that if we all took out our money, they would crash. It's a joke. It literally is a joke. What the fuck? And people think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not. Maybe I am.
No,
I'm crazy for thinking that other people are going to open their minds and realize that things aren't the way that you're told they are.
Yep.
And that you're going to make the change in the world. And you change yourself, you change the world. That's a lyric from a song.
Yeah. So in that sense, that means to change our financial world, go out and buy a cryptocurrency to help push us into that direction. As soon as the people of a country decide to do that themselves, the government kind of has to.
It just is that valuable on its own, though. It's like, what if? It's like, this is Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's like historical.
There's
never been anything like this. This is what the internet invented, is a new currency.
Yeah, and everyone argues that, what's the point in buying Bitcoin, considering it can go to zero tomorrow? It's like, that may be true, but it has the same chance, if not more, to go to 1 billion tomorrow rather than zero. Because more people are getting into it right now. Because it's just so safe and secure compared to fiat money and even gold, which they find gold every other day in the ground.
What's fiat money?
Fiat money is the paper money.
Okay, that's paper money. Fiat money.
Yeah.
Okay, never heard that term before.
Yeah, if you're bored, watch The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
That's an old, ancient...
It's an old movie, but that talks about what's happening.
Whose horsemen were those? Hades?
No, it just talks like the financial apocalypse.
Oh.
I don't know, it's a good documentary.
History repeats itself.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly what's
happening.
What
were demigods before are now actual, like, legends? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, we'll see how this goes.
And yeah, that's what's happening right now. Same thing as the 2008 crisis, the dot-com bubble, is we saw a huge crash. It went to a certain point. The government printed money and gave a vast majority to big companies and the 1% for them to get out of markets while it's going up before it crashes back down again and recorrelates with reality. Because right now it's so far out. Everything's back to 52-week highs and all of a sudden, but it's like the unemployment rate is skyrocketing. It's like we've never seen it before. Like we've never seen it before for sure.
Yeah.
So why are the stocks all of a sudden still pumping? They're going to crash
again. Unless you know where to look.
And if you look back to those times on certain charts, it shows the same thing that's happening right now. There was a big crash. It got built back up and then crashed even harder. So that's why all the institutions and everyone, hedge funds, they're backing out of the market, and well, not completely, about 1 to 2% of their portfolios are going into Bitcoin just because this is pretty stable now, and there's still the risk reward is getting bigger and bigger. Why wouldn't you get into Bitcoin?
Well, stabilizing.
It is. It's actually kind of incredible. It's back to where it was before Corona. Not a problem. And
a lot of people have been online since Corona started happening. I only want to see it go up too. Yeah.
And that's what you ask people or tell people, and Yeah, one of my coworkers, I asked him, and I said, what do you think of Bitcoin? And he's like, oh, it's kind of the stupidest thing. And I was like, well, do you think it will go up? And he said, 100% for sure it will. And I said, will you go buy some? He said, no way. Well, why wouldn't you? You just said it would go up, so there's value there. Why don't you just go contribute to that value and it will go up? More of us that jump in, the more valuable it becomes because it's scarce compared to anything else in the world, and it is trackable down to the billionth Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Billionth of a Bitcoin, which is a Satoshi.
Satoshi Nakuma. Nakuma? Nakamura? Nakamura. Satoshi Nakamura. I think that's the actual...
Satoshi Nakamura? Satoshi. I wonder if it's going to come up. Yeah, there we go.
Nakamoto.
Yeah. Yeah, and apparently, John McPhee apparently knows who Satoshi is, but...
Who's supposed to know it?
John McPhee.
John Fee?
John McPhee. John something like that. This guy. This guy says he has known and talked to the so-called Satoshi, and he is not going to say anything else, and I understand why, because it will ruin this guy's life, because apparently his life is back to normal, and he has kids, and if people find out who's Satoshi, they will be kidnapping his children, the government will come take him down and jail him up for millions of years, and like one other guy said, I can't remember who it was, they said, if whoever created Bitcoin comes forward, the world will celebrate and applaud him, and then the government will just plop him in jail. They'll applaud him first, and then
he remain anonymous.
Exactly. He's got to remain anonymous. That's the whole point of Bitcoin. There is no one behind it. You can dive in and do whatever you want. You can get on the blockchain. You can start mining. You can become a node. You could just trade it, give it value.
Yeah. The hard part about contributing to Bitcoin with like a node phone is you can't mine a Bitcoin on a node phone.
No.
You need to do something like Ethereum or something that's a little less...
You don't have to mine. Mining, the competition out there is crazy, so you need to spend a ton of money to get into it. So owning a node is probably the next best thing, other than
it's
just
contributed
trading. But they even
processing power, really, right?
Yeah, but with the trades
all I need my phone to do is this basic thing.
Yeah. But with the transactions that are happening nowadays, a node phone would take 200 years to pay itself off with the transaction fees. But yeah, that's at today's volume. It's going to keep going up and up from here, right? So...
maybe we'll live for 200 years.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's going to be expensive. Better buy some Bitcoin.
Exactly. You need some now before it gets to $1 million, and you're like, oh shit. Okay, and then the other thing, I know that scares people with Bitcoin, is when they look at the chart.
Well, the long term, you see, like that's all it is so far. It's like it's just begun.
Well, this is not even it, right? This is when TraderView, the site, started recording it. This is in 14, right? It was still around for 6 years before that.
Yeah.
And its starting price was at $430.
One day.
And you have to remember, Bitcoin started at absolute zero until Satoshi and his group of fellow coders gave it some value by trading it between each other. And then it grew from there.
Oh, that's how it really started to get value. They started trading it.
Yeah.
Like, well, we created this thing. Like, oh, here, we got this Bitcoin. Here, I'll give you a Bitcoin for mowing my lawn. Or like,
well, it wasn't even for anything. Satoshi sent one Bitcoin to Hal Finney to prove the whole cycle. And that gave it value right there, because in theory, Bitcoin is amazing because of the blockchain. And that was the start of it.
Amongst programmers.
Yeah. And then
not on mowers.
There's the classic story of a pizza guy showed up at a house delivering a pizza, and the guy at the door offered him 30,000 Bitcoin for this pizza. And that was when Bitcoin was worth, pennies and whatever. So this guy was like, oh, I mean, yeah, sure, whatever. So he paid for the pizza out of his pocket, got this Bitcoin sent to him, and nowadays...
What year was that?
That was Oh, that would have been like 2009 or something, 2010 maybe.
Like the history of it is great.
So if
programmers came up with this algorithm. 3 years later, a pizza was paid for. Then, 5 years later.
Yeah, today that's $265 million. The world's most expensive pizza.
At a what market cap? A billion market cap? Is that when this started getting recorded? What? The world's most expensive pizza? $265 million. Delicious.
Yeah. And then, yeah, what you were saying about this thing that was coded out of nowhere and it's all of a sudden worth so much, it's because it has scarcity. Something like Dogecoin or Dogecoin, however you pronounce it, that has no value because the creator built it as a joke and I'm pretty sure he can make as many as he wants whenever. So that's why it doesn't have value, because it's not scarce. It's going to
buy a meme!
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Geniuses.
Yeah, and there's thousands upon thousands of cryptocurrencies you can buy, all from market caps to from absolute zero, less than zero, to
it's almost like a modern penny stock, but
even less though. Like some of those go up 6,000% in a day, and it still doesn't pass a penny. Right? They're fractions and fractions of a penny. What is the market cap of Bitcoin? $231 billion. That's not much in the real world. For it being what it's going to be.
In terms of like world economies.
Yes. The market cap for gold is umpteen trillions or something. And the fact of that is, if Bitcoin does take off and it is becoming an actual asset, it's going to take a stab into Bitcoin's market cap. And again, that's massive. So even if there's a couple percent, it's going to raise the price of Bitcoin a huge amount. I don't know why I'm not finding it here.
I think that, for me, in this weird, like, spiritual equation way, if getting out of gold and getting into Bitcoin could be some like
$9 trillion.
$9 trillion for gold?
For the market cap of gold.
So that's like, what, 100 times as much? 10 times as much?
200?
Way more.
Yeah, way more.
Would be like shifting out of greed. So like getting out of gold representing greed, getting into Bitcoin representing modern life.
Yeah.
Next generation, Star Trek kind of thing. You know? It's like getting out of greed.
Yeah, and the 1% is doing it, so why don't we all hop on the boat? JP Morgan, the big old bank, they, for a while, they told people not to invest in big Bitcoin or anything, and they told their employees if they have Bitcoin, they'll be fired and everything. Well, JP Morgan has been buying Bitcoin all the time, and now they're just they're doing the banking for Bitcoin exchanges, so it's even easier for them to get their hands on Bitcoin.
Oh my goodness, that's kind of hilarious. No,
right?
No one's allowed to have any Bitcoin at all.
And they're just like, oh, thank you.
They don't start giving us Bitcoin.
Yeah, and so many huge hedge funds investors now are putting 1 to 2% of their assets into Bitcoin. Because why not? If fiat currency crashes, then, geez, that sucks. But then at the same time, that should theoretically send Bitcoin skyrocketing. So that 1% will be your entire portfolio. It will be the 99.99%.
Yeah. Like reversing the poles.
Yeah. But I ultimately don't think that will happen.
People do believe in something biblical happening, though. With all these chain of events, people are like, oh, maybe not believing in something biblical. I don't know.
Well, things will change. They will go digital and blockchain. But each government does need their own currency. It does make sense that way because we all have different tax systems and benefit systems. So we need the currency to help do that.
Yeah, that's kind of how the countries are run.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been that way for generations and generations, right? The system works like that.
And that's what makes it really interesting, because you look at, it's weird to look at. You have to look at the U.S. debt versus their GDP, and I think right now it's at 105%. So their debt is now bigger than their GDP, their gross domestic product, so like all the money that they make over a year. Yeah. So that's not a good sign, right? That's something that you should be terrified of. Guess what China is?
Probably like 300%, like
way
in the green.
Well, this is the negative.
In the negative?
Yeah.
But China makes everything. You think that they would sell so much and have like the best economy?
Takes what, 1 million yen to go buy a basic hatchback? Right? Their money is so devalued.
That's true. They don't pay their workers anything. That's why it's so cheap. The world's so fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure in China, well, the standards probably are less. You probably might not need to be a journeyman to do some things, right? If you'll do it for less, well, I'm sure they'll pay you to do it. Just don't fuck it up.
Yeah, depending on where you are.
Yeah.
Some places it's like, spare no expense, or spare some expenses. It's
yeah, and
how do you make a budget and make that happen, right?
Yeah, and that's what really affected the world when Corona
how
hit.
to do it.
Is China shut down, so no one could get shit shipped to them, right? Yeah. Auto manufacturers were like, oh dear, we need to stockpile parts because we're going to have a couple months here where we're going without parts because everything's made in China.
Yeah.
Like it affected us right here. We're still waiting on parts that have been sitting around for a month. And they only came from the States.
When was the last time China was closed like this? Probably a war.
Yeah. And that's what makes it really scary, because after the war, the debt got so bad that the income tax had to be put up so much. Like, our tax bracket was 77% income tax rate. The one above us was like 88%, and then the one above that, the 1%, was 94% tax. So in today's value, if you're the 1% and you made $2.3 million, you're looking at taking around 150,000 home. That's terrifying, and that could be next year or the year after.
But
if we
everything would have to be suspended, right? Like,
you can't. That's what's happening right now. You can't just suspend things.
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
People have to pay their mortgages. Mortgages are based on time, and time costs interest. Banks need that money. That's where deferred payments come in from. And people think they're the greatest things. It's like, no, it's not, because you're just delaying those payments more, and you're getting paid more interest on top of that, just for delaying it that much longer.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to remember what I was thinking earlier. I was like, what the fuck? I was on to something, and I was like, wait, oh no, but what? Oh shit, that's right. What are we fighting for? That's what I was gonna say.
Okay.
I was like, I'll wait until he's done. Like, what are we fighting for? China makes all this cheap stuff that we just use once and throw away, and it devalues our experience in life, but at the same time, we live a better quality of life because we can just do that all the time. It's fucking awesome.
That's true.
Cheeseburger, selfie.
Well, it's not just
new phone.
We throw
cool.
away. It's a lot of like infrastructure stuff too, like
I don't think it's cheeseburgers
metals
either.
And stuff. Huge manufacturing stuffs are made in China and shipped over here.
And stuff. How many of those McDonald's toys? Here's cheeseburgers and cheap stuff.
Probably bajillions.
That had electronics in them. Those were pretty cool little games, some of them. Some of them sucked, and it was like, I wanted a toy I could play with. There's some really good ones, though.
Yeah.
There's actually ones almost like Alien Invaders, Space Invaders, I think. I like old games like that. They're just like super simple.
Yeah, super basic.
Easy to play. Anyways. Trading in Bitcoin and stuff like that, that's not...
Trading in Bitcoin.
Not a good game to get into unless you can lose it, really. I mean, you shouldn't put everything into Bitcoin. But like you were saying, 10% is a regular... 1%. 10% is pretty aggressive.
That is very aggressive.
Yeah.
1%, that's a safe percent, but even... It's not even recommended, right? It's still up in the air. But seeing other huge hedge funds starting to do it, and... the amount is incredible, and then the other point is you look at the Oracle of Omaha, Mr. Warren Buffett. He says Bitcoin here is rat poison squared. And to an investor, that should not really surprise you because his whole company runs on fiat currency and compounded interest and making sure the economy crashes again. So he's there with a big hefty bank account to bail people out himself.
Like, oh, you all messed it up. You fell for my traps. Oh, it's okay. I'll save you.
Yeah, and then that's where we get back to where the markets are apparently at a 52-week high again. Warren Buffett hasn't moved a muscle. He has, or Berkshire Hathaway, I guess. There's $130 billion in cash still sitting, still waiting for something to happen. And he does not buy at a high price. He buys when people say, this is garbage, throw it out.
Waiting for something to happen. It's not me doing anything with this, though.
Yeah. Yeah, but looking at the chart in the long term, like it was, at hundreds of dollars, and then like $400 it started on TraderView, and then over here, 200, like, oh my goodness, scary. Comes right back. I'm looking at the wrong one there. Yeah, it's right around 7 here. 8, like, it just continues to come back, and even though it hit a high and we're at a low, people are scared. It's like, oh, it's not worth anything anymore. It's like, if you look back at the chart, it's continually worth more as time goes on. So that means it's going to be worth a lot more than this in the future. This is going to be peanuts. If you're buying in here, you're going to be laughing. Like the people down here, they're laughing all the way to the bank. They sold out way up here real fast. They saw that bottom and they said, there's a ton of value here. And
yeah, look at the potential.
Yeah, they pulled the Warren Buffett. But because they care about cryptocurrency and what it represents, it's just, yeah, they buy it.
What we're seeing here is a real spike. And that didn't really make that much sense. It's like, what was this? What is this? Holy, okay. Let's calm down a little bit. And then we kind of like, this is worth something, and then go down, and now it's going into this kind of like, whoop, whoop.
Yeah, it's just going through its cycle.
Turn it into waves.
Yeah. And then right here, this is the 12th-ish era where everything kind of plummeted. And Bitcoin started to plummet just because, it was the riskier asset portfolio, so people knew it was coming, so that's the first thing you dump. It's the riskiest thing. So that's why it happened before the markets even did anything. But this is still, zoomed into weeks, so we should go into like days here. That'll give us a little better view. Yeah, see that's the day right there, the 12th. So there's people who knew about it. They knew it was coming. That were in Bitcoin. You hear a lot of Wall Street traders that are singing the Bitcoin tune right now.
Yeah.
Because look at it. Well, look at it. It did drop 50%, but it's right back. And it's fighting right now, but that was a Bitcoin halving. So now, the mining for Bitcoin is half as much.
It's just the price of it knows that there's a lot of money moving as this graph changes.
Yeah, there sure is. And it's getting more and more. And so much so that the futures part of Bitcoin, so the money that's the Bitcoin that's put away and said, hey, it will be traded on this date for this price at this time to possibly this person or whatever the terms are set to. There is now, I think there's 30 billion futures set right now for Bitcoin.
Really?
Yeah, there's $30 billion just sitting in Bitcoin waiting to be spent in the future.
Traded.
Right now. And that's what gives its value. And also, the amount of money that's in the mining industry for Bitcoin is immense. It's in the billions, if not hundreds of billions, and will be more.
In terms of like machines that exist and servers dedicated?
Yeah, because you have to continue to buy servers, right? And that's where the hash rate comes in. If you have a good hash rate, you're doing really good. Like one of the best out there, the one I like, is the HUD 8. The HUD 8 Mining Corporation is a they're growing. They're growing a lot. Let's see here. Yeah, so they've mined over 12,000 Bitcoin so far. There's another thing on here. Oh, and then there was like how much power they use and stuff, which that's super important. But
152 petabytes a second? Petahashes. Oh, petahashes.
Petahashes.
So that's one hashing algorithm for one of the blocks in a blockchain.
I think so.
How many blocks is in a blockchain today?
The halving on Monday at about 3, that block number was 630,000. That was the block number.
630,000.
Yeah, and each block, there's a block mined every about 10 minutes or so, something like that. So right now that means every 10 minutes or so, 6.25 Bitcoin are being mined. Someone out there with a mining rig just collected 6 Bitcoin. And 6 Bitcoin, that's a pretty decent chunk of change, right? Well, it used to be 12, but now it's 6.
What, 240,000?
So theoretically,
no,
the price should be double.
480,000? No, 48,000. 6. It's only 6, not 60.
6.25.
And it'd be more than that, so over 50. Over 50,000, I think. For 6. $55,000.
Not quite.
I'm pretty dull on my math.
Yeah, you need to sharpen your pencil there, bud.
Yeah, I'll sharpen my math pencil, smooth out some Bitcoin waves. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'll sharpen the pencil though, and I'll test it out on a piece of paper, and I'll be like, it works. Hopefully. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe not. I have faith though. I believe in the pencil.
Better pick the right pencil.
HB2.
Well, you don't want to pick one with bad history, bad past. I'd have trouble stuff. Could hold it down.
I'll go make a pencil.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a challenge.
That is a challenge.
That is a challenge.
Good luck finding the
charcoal pencil.
Yeah, there you go. That would work enough.
Where's the nearest charcoal mine?
Anyway, back to the amount that's in Bitcoin. Yeah, the money behind mining itself it must be an extraordinary amount. And the fact that the market cap is still only 250 billion when other market caps are in trillions even. It's kind of staggering.
Kind of got a ways to go.
Yeah. And even then, RBC, the Royal Bank, did announce a couple months ago that they are planning on having their own cryptocurrency exchange alongside their stock exchange. Or their platform, at least. Their online platform. So that's really cool. Something to get into. Other banks are doing it too, like JP Morgan's jumping on the boat. They're probably not gonna let you trade it yet, but they're sure as hell going to.
Like, it's definitely an option in a lot of ways.
It is.
Maybe not that way.
There's a lot more. If you watch this site, the Digital Asset News, he takes clips from other videos around about big billionaire traders, and they say when you go into a bank and stuff, there's not a cough or a sneeze about Bitcoin. But when you are at a party later with the same people, they are saying it to the tune. They love it. They got so much money. They're making money. They love it.
I seen a video of Kevin O'Leary. It was like, Bitcoin doesn't make any sense. And he's like, Bitcoin's best. It wasn't quite like that. But he was like, it tends to flip and go back and forth, you know?
Oh, there's so many videos. I saw one that says...
I butchered that, but...
Technically, Bitcoin isn't worth anything. It's imaginary. You should put all of your money into it right now.
Yeah.
Because it will be worth something.
It's like, whose line is it anyway?
No, that was a different YouTuber. I can't remember who it was. The guy who did the...
Sounds like a whose line is it anyway intro, though.
Yeah.
Here's a currency that's totally made up, and we don't know if it's ever going to be worth anything.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
buy it now!
That is the intro.
Of course.
Points.
Is it ever going to be worth anything? It is worth anything. We know it's at least worth a pizza.
Yeah, it is worth one pizza. Well, We know it's worth more than that. A couple in our local area, Calgary, their house was, or possibly still is, up for sale for 12.5 Bitcoin.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Buy a house for Bitcoin.
More value right
you
there.
You can mine twice. You can buy a house. But you already have a house if you're doing that.
But then it's weird getting into that gets into taxes and.
How easy is it to buy a house with Bitcoin though? I mean, the person selling the house has to be in Bitcoin. You can't buy a random house.
Exactly, and how does the realtor?
Or not a random house, but like
process that transaction on their accounts for the deed of the house, right?
Yeah, you'd have to convert it into your bank account first, and then transfer it from your bank account. You have to put it in the economy first for most people.
Or you just sign.
That's really cool. If you list your house through Bitcoin, it's like
step forward.
It could just work out.
And then a lot of people think it's crazy, but if they did get that Bitcoin,
no fees.
Bitcoin did go up to $1 million. They made a screaming amount of money. No, they're very, very little fees. You have to pay for the nodes and stuff to authenticate the transactions, but it is very, very little. Unless the hash rate, not the hash rate, the trade volume is insanely high, which did happen. You know, when it was at 20,000 or whatever, it was so high that it was costing, you know, actually a couple dollars. Still nothing you'd see at the bank, possibly. It depends where you went. Some exchanges were good. Small exchanges could charge you at their ass. Just because you're like, give me some Bitcoin right now. But.
Yeah. Because you'd have to split your Bitcoin and like.
That's easy though.
It's fractalize it.
It's
not better whole.
It's not like this where a Bitcoin is a Bitcoin. It's just a number.
Let's get that on camera. This looks pretty cool. You've all seen this before. Now here it is, up close, out of focus. Here's the other side. There it is. And after that little break, we're back for the next part of the Bitcoin episode. So, where did we leave off? I don't even remember where we left off.
Oh crap, I can't remember.
Blockchain, hashing, algorithms.
I think a good place to start would be mining. That's kind of where I was wanting to go here. So, with the Bitcoin halving, it's harder for miners to make a profit. Their profits were just cut in half with the Bitcoin halving. So now it's more of a fight. So
it takes twice as much to get more?
Yes. Well, not really. It's just the payout is less. It's half as much, right?
It was 12.5, now it's 6.25?
Yeah. So the payout is half as much. And it's not like the price doubles overnight, so it's not really like they can just keep going regularly. They either have to sell some of their Bitcoin and liquidate it on the market, or they need to make themselves a lot more efficient or completely shut down. Bitfury has sold some of their mines to HUD 8. I don't know if it was for any certain reasons or anything. HUD 8 also has a facility right beside a new liquid natural gas power generating place in Medicine Hat, so that's pretty cool. But then it gets on to miners have to do this and liquidate to get money to upgrade their rigs. They need to get the latest hardware to mine this Bitcoin to be competitive, and that costs money. It's going to cost more and more money. Well, some miners are now actually considering producing their own mining hardware in-house. And
that's a great idea.
That is.
Since you're doing twice as much for half as much anyway.
And I'm going to take this even further, because I got to go into another point, and they're going to link back together. So if they do that, they will probably still keep their old mining hardware, and it'll be super cheap and efficient, and they will have their awesome, even more efficient stuff, but eventually they will have to start getting rid of stuff. Well, nowadays, in places that are way underdeveloped and stuff, they're now getting phones, super cheap phones and whatnot.
What hardware can they make in-house?
like the mining rigs. I don't know I don't know all the details, but they can start making the hardware to mine Bitcoin. But if they can do this, and third world countries can start collecting Bitcoin and using it enough, so the hardware could be cheap enough that they could start buying it and using it for their own computing power to do their own things. Right?
Like mining specific processors.
Yeah.
Like the computer doesn't really need to do much.
Just the processors. I think. I don't quote me on it or anything.
Well, that's why like mining rigs are made with a lot of graphics processing units, right?
Like I don't know. Don't ask me. I just know that they need hardware and they need a bunch of it if you want to be competitive, and that they are thinking about producing their own, and that's really interesting to me because we move on to another cryptocurrency that I feel will stand right beside Bitcoin if it does get too huge, and that is Mana. Mana is the Decentraland currency. If I can Google it here. Mana.
There's a crypto coin called Mana?
Yeah, Mana. It's for Decentraland. Now, Decentraland is really interesting. It is a digital land where you can go buy digital land. You can trade this mana around and buy things in this digital land. It's really interesting, and that brings me back to the point of the mining, making their own rigs and doing stuff. And they could give away their old computing power to third world countries, and they could essentially jump on this Decentraland and start trading ideas and everything, because Decentraland is more than just...
You can trade ideas?
It's like trading code, basically. Like this right here is a plot of land, this little red guy. It is 23,000 mana. It expires on a certain day. We can jump right in and look at this land.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's look at it. This is like a memory location in a computer. This is like how computers work.
I believe it's on a blockchain.
Okay, go to this place. And it's like, okay, what's here? Okay, send it over here. Okay, now send it back to the screen. Okay.
But
42.
You're still thinking like in a computer virtual. This is like flat land, like
this
we see
is something
today.
else, but it's...
But it makes it really interesting.
Almost analogous.
On your land, you can build anything you want, right? With your code. So it's like you could build designs, you could like have secret design codes hidden everywhere that cost mana if people find certain things. You can do stuff like that, and then
it's cool.
Because of this, and to be able to share ideas around the world and just jump on here. Imagine engineers and housing developers. What if they came up with their ideas on here, where instead of having to fly around the world or jump on a website, you can jump into Decentraland, and when I mean jump in, it's getting to the point where you can jump into Decentraland in VR, so you can actually walk around in this place and go and experience a house that you could possibly want to buy in the future, right? See,
That's so beautiful. It's like no matter where you are in life, if you have great ideas, you can go on Decentraland and you can
share them.
You can share them and build this like house that's like worth how much your ideas are worth. Almost like Minecraft too. It's sort of like that, I would say. But this actually has a cryptocurrency that gets made with it and that you can trade.
Yeah, and Decentraland, I don't know exactly how it works, but apparently when you use a mana token, it gets spent, it disappears, so it is fully decentralized. The stuff is created, but it doesn't go anywhere. Like you buy it, you get it, you spend it, it goes... I don't know how it works.
Is it just on this simulation?
Yes, that's why I bought my hardware wallet, because apparently you need a hardware wallet. You can't, there's no exchange wallet or anything. You don't buy it on an exchange, you buy it on Decentraland. But then it takes me to the point where there's so much more you could do. Look at a company like Tesla, where their marketing has been basically like $0 marketing. They just have such amazing products that people just want to see them, right? So people are tuning in online to see them. Well, what if Tesla bought a big old plot of land on this old Decentraland, and they put up a big old wall, and they said, hey, we're going to reveal our new product and design within these walls. And you can come walk around in VR and experience it instead of having to fly around the world or go to a store or just watch a 2D online web page. But they say, hey, to get in here, you gotta give us 2 mana. So instead of them paying for advertising, they're making money by just having great ideas and wanting people to see them, and people wanting to see them and experience them. So
that's sad, it's beautiful.
Right? And then that gets me to the point where it's like, what if educational institutes jumped on here and started offering education for free type of thing, where it's like, you could just sit there and watch ads for an hour and then you get free education.
Have you ever heard of the Renegade University, or like
no.
some kind of online knowledge platform? The Renegade University is run by this guy, Thaddeus Russell. I've seen him on Joe Rogan podcast. And he offers courses online, and you watch them. And I think I haven't gone through these, but I think they're like a series of videos and like articles to read probably, and answer to learn things. So
okay.
like, I mean, that'd be great if you could buy that with something other than money. It's like, I don't have to slave away at McDonald's for this or something like that. I haven't done that, but you know, maybe that's not like slaving away, but
wage slave labor.
Like slaving away, like labor, like
wage slave labor.
Yeah.
That's also a problem with.
If you live like in China or something, and you don't get paid very much, you can go get paid in mana if you have great ideas. There's a beauty idea.
It is.
You know, I'm making, no matter what, I make pretty decent money.
And you can do that right now at Decentraland. If you contact people who own land.
Not as good. Too. And all you need is an internet connection. And to know that this exists.
Yeah, well, and like,
please watch the Voodoo Monkeys podcast because you'll learn about Decentraland.
It's great. Because you can do that today. If you can code and stuff, people have bought land that say, hey, I need help with this project. Can I pay you to come help me code this? Well, bam, there's a job. If you can do it, there's a job.
I gotta work on my coding.
There was even another...
I was just looking at it. I got these Arduinos on. Well, I got one Arduino. It's like for robotics.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, they got really easy to connect like pins. And there's digital pins, analog pins. You can buy bigger ones, smaller ones, and they have a processor on them too. So you can load code into them, and then it'll just continuous run this code. And you can, there's like a setup function, call the libraries, initialize everything that you need to do, and then there's the loop that just goes all the time. You can set delays in it for like a blinky light, or if you can control it with a radio, or it can be like a self-seeking thing that, like a Roomba. That'd be run by something like a Arduino. It's like a Raspberry Pi, kind of C++ building blocks programming computer.
Yeah, this is someone's house apparently. Maybe. I'm assuming.
That is a house. There you go. On
and the central
virtual house
is also huge. I did find a cyber house. Like all these blue properties, I think are the bought ones or the for sale ones. I still don't know. But again, this place is huge. It's not so massive that it's it's twice the size of the world. Everyone will have land. No, it's definitely not that big. It's smaller than like a state. So it's really interesting, the fact that you could share ideas, you could share schooling, you could trade it for an advertisement kind of a thing, right? Couple mana, because there's things where you can get paid on Google to watch ads, right? If you could put that towards a little bit of education, that'd be probably great if you're in a third world country, and if you're getting some of the miners' old equipment for super cheap, then you're actually able to do that. There would be infrastructure for internet.
Like they could get paid mana to learn. There you go. Maybe it costs something, but then you're learning and you're getting this thing when you...
Yeah, you'll come up with something.
To share your ideas.
And then that's really cool with Starlink, because there'll be internet all over the world, and you don't need, you don't have to be in a first world country to get 5G internet or something like that.
Yeah.
As long as you have the device to do it, you should be able to do it.
That's incredible.
So, the world's going digital and it's great.
I hope we're all Jedi. Like, this is like the Force is like happening. It's like it's coalescing, and I was just like, I hope we're all Jedi.
I don't know how it connects to crypto, man.
Learning, generating mana, it being crypto.
That's, I mean, I can't really control it.
It's a dream. That's just a dream. I don't know. It's just a dream.
One day.
There's a dream.
Yeah, but I mean, again, we're only as good as the technology that it's on, right? Like, good old Coinbase here, right when things are going up real quick and everything's getting real exciting, or they go down too fast, it's getting real scary, Coinbase usually crashes. You can't trade it. So that's kind of scary.
Unreliable.
It is a little unreliable, but only in really scary times. But the nice thing about...
They keep track of things, though.
Yeah, they do. And the nice thing about Coinbase is you can actually exchange a Bitcoin for some Ethereum or some XRP, or the other way around. Most exchanges, it's CAD, USD to Bitcoin or Ethereum, or back. It's not between crypto and crypto. And then that's what brings up an argument is Bitcoin a currency? And I guess if you did want to call it a currency, then you would also have to say that our fiat currency is also worthless right now. Because to buy one Bitcoin is $12,000 Canadian. Imagine that as an exchange rate. Right? You want to buy something in the States? Well, that's 3 Bitcoin. Jesus, that's expensive. What if it's a coffee table?
Yeah.
But again, it's up to the buyer and the seller, right?
Don't get duped.
Yep, pretty much. Try and be smarter than the seller. Look for them deals. That's why Bitcoin is not that scary right now at all, because of the Bitcoin halving. There was supposed to be, which is, this area, that was the stock market crash. But the Bitcoin halving here, it was supposed to be doom and gloom. People were shorting it and everything, and people lost a lot of money on their shorts because it's, again, going up and it didn't fall that far.
What's shorting it? Like,
shorting it is basically you,
like, is that all this, like, little bit of waviness in there?
This is the volume down here. Shorting, you won't see anything to do with shorting on here. Shorting is basically just, you would have some money, you would go to an exchange, like, I don't know, not Coinbase, but Robinhood does it. And they also buy on margin, but it's all in the bank. So they would buy, you would take your money, you would give it to, say, an exchange, and they would say, all right, we're going to give you what's called, I don't know, I think it's just a security, so it's basically like they instantly sell some Bitcoin to give you that value, and you wait till the price of Bitcoin goes down, you buy it back for less, give that amount of Bitcoin back, and then you keep what's left over.
Okay, that's
so
kind of interesting.
If you had 10 grand and you put it and you wanted to short, like, I don't know exactly how it works, I've never actually done it, but theoretically you take that 10 grand, you buy one Bitcoin, say one Bitcoin is worth 10 grand, right? It would instantly sell and you have that 10 grand. It would lose value and you'd see it go down and you'd see it go to, let's say, $8,000. So you're like, that's great. And then maybe it took, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, because Bitcoin can be volatile. So then you buy that Bitcoin back for $8,000 and instantly give it back, and then you get your 10 grand back, so it's like a little low and you paid a little bit of interest. Well, you walked away with 2 extra grand, right? Just like that.
It goes back up to 10 grand again.
Well, no, you're done. You washed your hands, right? You borrowed that, technically that Bitcoin, you borrowed that money because the Bitcoin instantly sold, so you borrowed that money, which was 10 grand, because that was what the value of Bitcoin was, but it was already sold, so you had that money. But the value of Bitcoin went down.
Bitcoin is
so
10, then it goes down to 8?
8. But because you bought it at 8, you, in your bank account, then you have 1 Bitcoin and $2,000. Well, you owe that Bitcoin and the small fee back. You're still left with around $2,000, right? That's what shorting is. You're borrowing it to instantly sell it and buy it back for less and just give it back.
So that's like, since it's worth $10,000 and it's costs $8,000, I'm gonna buy it.
It's the whole point of shorting, right? The point of shorting is you'll be sitting up here, right? And you go, I think Bitcoin is gonna fall. I'm gonna take out a short position. So you buy X amount for that price. Well, it instantly sells, you get the cash. Well, you buy it back for this price, right? And then you just give it back.
You sell it at $10,000 because you know it's going to go down, and then you buy the same amount for less.
Yeah, and then just give it back, and you make the difference. That's what shorting is.
I thought that's all trading was about. I thought.
Well, that's shorted trading.
That's called shorting.
That's shorting.
That's just shorting.
That's making money when the market's doing this. Regular trading is when the market's doing this. That's when you buy it for $2 and sell it for $10, right? That's how you make money just regularly, right? But people figured out a way to make money as it's going down. Crazy, right?
It's like forcing it to go down so they can do it the normal way.
I don't really know if it's forcing it, but they just see it coming. And you just take out that short position. Because the thing with the short position is, that's what people are having here. If it goes up, you have to pay the difference. You got to make sure you give that shit back that you borrowed. So if you took that for $10,000 and it instantly spiked up to $20,000, you now have to give them $10,000 on top of the $10,000 you borrowed.
Yeah.
You got to give that value back.
What if you just never sold it?
Hodl, man. Hold on for dear life. That's
it's going to be a slow grower.
Give it a couple years. Looking at the charts, it's going to be right around 200,000 in probably 2 years' time.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. You never know. Some people are saying 500,000. Some people are saying 1 million. Some people are saying 2,000.
250 billion.
But it's really cool because when I've been on Digital Asset News, talks about another guy who's been on Bitcoin since it was $30. He was at the last Bitcoin halving, and he was scratching his head. Oh, what's Bitcoin going to do? And it was at like, I don't know, a couple $100 kind of a thing, $100, $200, $300, and he was like, oh my God, what if it reached $3,000 after the halving? And people are going nuts, like, no way, no way. Well, sure enough, it reached what, 20,000, something like that. Like, it blew expectations out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
And that was with very few people in it. I mean, mind you, there was a lot of manipulation and whatnot, and lots of trading and shorting and all sorts of whatnot and garbage that made it fly all over the place. Made the price super volatile. But nowadays, with more people buying it, holding on to it, it's making it a little more stable.
Gotta not forget what Bitcoin's about.
It's about being decentralized. Not having your stuff devalued. Not letting the bank devalue your stuff just because they want to. They can print money whenever they damn well feel like. Technically.
Yeah.
It's just called debt. That's how the world runs. If you need more money, we'll just create more debt. Not a problem. But then you get in the situation where...
It's evil, doing evil for the status quo. That's what that is.
Yeah, and that's why the GDP, that's why the debt is like 105% of the US GDP for them. It's starting to get the situation where they can't pay back their debt, but it's got the point where, is that a problem? China's at double that, and they're still going strong. Apparently it doesn't really change much.
The world really doesn't make sense. It just keeps happening anyway.
Right? And then again, Warren Buffett, one of his great quotes is, every decade or so, the skies will be doom and gloom and dark, and it will rain gold. And you better have your bucket ready.
A meteor's coming.
Yeah. Everything will look really, really bad, but
it's gonna be meteoric.
There's still value there. You better pick it up.
Get your shields.
That's why people are buying Bitcoin right now, because this very well could be the bottom. Everyone's like, no, the bottom's more because the miners need to liquidate and whatnot. It's like, but if the miners don't, and more people want to dive and
maybe
buy.
The bottom was that spike.
The bottom would have been the 12th. That's what I'm thinking. People already filled up their pockets right here that needed to. Like, look at this volume here. It dropped and then huge volume. Right?
Yeah.
People were like, oh, because that was like half the price, right? And all of a sudden it's up 100%. Or 50%, whatever it is. Where's my little measuring tool? This was May 12th.
It should be like 100%, then down 10%, then 100%. That'd be cool.
March 16th to May 9th, we're looking at 103% return gain. That should blow your mind. We look at gold. I think gold is like a couple percent, maybe. Year over year, I think it's down 1% or something. Nothing compares to Bitcoin. Like, you look at stocks and whatnot. You tell me something that has. It took, like, I think someone described it as Berkshire Hathaway took, I don't know, years and years and years to double its value. Yet Bitcoin did it in just like a decade. But I think Berkshire Hathaway took 4 decades or something like that. Something. Don't do your research.
Things happen so fast.
And that's what's happening with Bitcoin, is because it's faster. And it's also a market that does not close. Toronto Stock Exchange closes at about 2 o'clock our time. This does not. This, I wake up in the morning and I can start trading. The other day I was sitting on here watching the charts, ready to do a day trade, ready to catch that nice little dip, and then it was like, I don't think it's coming. Girlfriend hopped in the shower, so I was like, I better just let this go and hop in the shower. Came back, oh, sure enough, the dip was right in when I was in the shower, and I pulled all my buy orders, and yeah, sure enough, I missed it. And, oh, fuck. Well, there'll be another one, eventually, but it'll be at a different scale. Like this, again, this could be the new bottom right here.
Yeah.
Very well could be.
Yeah,
that's when the halving happened. It's very interesting. But yeah, if we could get miners to sell their, sell their computing power cheap to third world countries so that those people can get on, use Decentraland, and possibly get paid to learn, kind of a thing. Get some form of education. If I was a billionaire, I would put some sort of education on Decentraland for people who couldn't afford it. Why wouldn't you?
I wonder what it's like over there. I mean, is there even a place that they could do that?
All you need is a phone. That's all you need. And if you have a phone and you can connect to cellular, you can connect to Coinbase and whatever. As long as you have a bank account or something you could transfer money into. There's that fiasco. The one I use does e-transfers, so it makes it nice and easy, but I still haven't pulled any money out because I'm hoping I'm just going to start using my Bitcoin for trade kind of thing. Use it as an actual currency eventually.
Cool.
I mean, that might be a decade away, but again, it might be worth $1 million at that point. But if you think about it, if it's worth $1 million, it depends on what Bitcoin is worth to you and me at that point. It could be worth a beer. So that means that $1 million US is even worth less. But because there's only 21 million Bitcoin, it's not going to be like that. So, and because I don't think it won't lose its value because...
I mean, it's at 8,000 right now, right?
Yeah.
8,000, so like 10,000 Canadian?
It's...
So around 10,000, I guess? Like, what's 10,000? That's like
it's at 12,000 Canadian. 12,005 Canadian. But only 8,000 American.
I mean, that's a nice car. A used car, right? But that's a nice car. 12,000?
Yeah. And you can day trade Bitcoin and gain some. Like, You can put $50 in and buy at a low, sell at a high, and you can just continually do that without putting any more money in, and you can end up with one nice Bitcoin there. You can do it. It's tough, but just look at your charts and look left and really think about what's happening in the market. Don't get too crazy with your charting, though. That's what I've learned. You have too many indicators on one chart, you can make yourself crazy.
Yeah. Probably limit the amount of Bitcoin time to like an hour of study.
Maybe.
Probably
What they say
need that long. I mean, you just check and be like, okay, well, that's what it's at.
Yeah.
What else is people saying? What's the news? Okay.
Keep checking.
Hopefully that's enough. But check morning.
Yeah.
I guess check night. Like check a couple times throughout a day. It changes as we can see.
Yeah, but
or
the best,
saw, I guess.
The best way to invest is passively. Just buy some here and there. A lot of people, like Mr. Digital Asset News I watch, he just buys some every week, doesn't care what the price is. Just keep buying it, and that's what Warren Buffett has said. He's like, if you have a good stock and you like it and you see it go down, don't be scared to sell. Buy that dip, buy it up, you trust it. Don't be buying a stock you're not going to be buying in 5 years. Right?
It's good advice. Quite the investor.
Yeah. And passive income on Bitcoin. If you put $1 into Bitcoin every day for the last 5 years, you would have spent $1,900 or so more in fees, if you want to look at that part of that. But if there was no fees involved, you'd be spending $1,900. That value today would be probably in the 100,000. Just by doing $1 a day, nice passive investing into Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
It's still growing. But I mean, again, that was 5 years ago. It was in the
All it
hundreds
has
of
to be
dollars.
worth is $1.
Yeah, and I think it'll be 50,000 by either the end of this year or start of next year.
Could be.
It could be.
We've seen the potential, and the potential is farther than that too. This is just the tip of the iceberg of the potential of Bitcoin.
Oh yes, if Bitcoin
Honestly.
starts taking the stab at market caps of other huge assets like gold and real estate and everything, the value will go through the roof. Those are in the trillions. The stock market, the world's stock market value is $73 trillion. Imagine if that's jumped into Bitcoin, right?
That'd be nuts. 73 trillion in Bitcoin. It would be an internet world.
Yeah, and what makes it even more terrifying about, you talk about the U.S. debt and whatnot, their debt is what, 24 trillion, sorry. Well,
and their
if you...
GDP is less than 24 trillion.
Yeah,
too.
but that equals to, if all of a sudden the United States said, fuck it, we're going to be like China, let's just print another 24. They could pay off everyone's house, everyone's car, they could give everyone thousands of dollars. That's every U.S. citizen. They could just give them everything and everyone would be good again. But it would devalue their dollar.
It's really like...
And the worst part is the U.S. dollar is a reserve currency around the world.
Public transportation was super efficient, and we just didn't need to travel in regular. Then like people and everybody could have like free access to it, and everybody had some kind of job to do. That would work so much better. It's like logistics is why things are so fucked up.
Yeah, it's because back in the 80s, it was just kind of, let's build shit wherever. It doesn't need to fucking make any sense. It doesn't need to be super efficient.
Build it, they will come!
Yeah, and then our generation, the next generation below, are like, why is this so messy? It could be a lot more efficient.
Yeah.
Just like with our financial system, it's kind of like, why is this crashing?
Have you heard of that hyper slime stuff? What is it called? It's like this hyper-intelligent organism that is a slime. It has no brain. It just like crawls over this log. It's super efficient at finding food. And I don't know, I don't remember how long it lives for, but they took it and they put it over top of a map of Japan, centralized on Tokyo, with being the largest food source and other cities in Japan being food sources, and letting it spread out. And it created a system of travel, I guess, better than the train system that exists in Japan already. Like, way more efficient.
That's interesting, right?
Yeah.
So cool.
Nature holds the answers, I think.
It does, because you look at certain technology. I guess we're getting away from cryptocurrency here.
Still, it's really smart.
I saw a TED Talk about we could grow our own batteries with viruses.
What? Virus battery?
Yeah. Batteries can grow themselves. They could produce power all themselves. You could grow a hydrogen fuel cell or a hydrogen electrolysis machine out of viruses.
What kind of viruses can create a machine?
I don't know. You'll have to look into that TED Talk.
Further
Super
research
interesting,
is
though. I would
needed.
look for that one.
Perhaps there's viruses that give off energy that you could, like, use, harvest, but, like, they would have to be in a cycle to constantly create it. Like, maybe a biological machine holds the key to, like, constant energy. But that's, like, so evil, thinking about that. Like, that's like being the robots in the Matrix.
It's not needed. Like,
that's how evil that is.
It's not needed, though.
Like, oh, no!
Elon Musk stated that the United States only needs to cover 1% of its land with a solar panel, and they could have more than enough power for the whole United States. 1%.
Is that true?
That is true. You can look that up.
How much?
I can look that up right now.
1% of its land.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's still like.
I don't know.
That's huge, though. I mean,
Musk.
There's 52 states. That's like half of a state. If they're all the same size, which probably I know they're not.
I mean, I can't remember where to look to find where he said that.
Like Texas is bigger than Hawaii.
Yeah. Solar City, I don't know, let's try 1% solar. I can't spell, yay.
Cute, but not the answer.
Solar power is a gigawatt per square kilometer. All you need is a 100 by 100 mile patch in the desert corner of Arizona, Texas, or Utah, or anywhere to be more than enough power to power the entire U.S. So
a gigawatt per square kilometer?
Yeah, 100 by 100 patch apparently will power the entire U.S. I thought it was something like 1%.
Maybe that's true. But, like, look at the failed solar farm in California.
Yeah, but our solar has gotten... The technology has gotten
That one was
insane.
a little weird, though. It was mirrors reflected on the thing.
No, you don't want to use mirrors. That
I
just
think
creates
that's
too
what
much heat.
that was. And then a bunch of mirrors broke and stuff. That wasn't actually solar panels. All the mirrors ended up being broken. Have you watched there's a documentary that got released. What is it called? Shit, I'm failing. Hold on. It was produced by Roger Moore. Wait, Roger Moore?
Michael Moore?
Michael Moore. Yeah, it was produced by Michael Moore. Sorry. I forget what it's called. But it was all about green energy and bioenergy.
it's not there quite yet today. It's so close.
Yeah, there's just a lot of lies about how good it actually is, and there's cover-ups too.
Oh yeah. Oh, don't get me started on the cover-ups.
Most of them don't work out because they can't store the energy. They don't have a storage solution on site when they're producing energy because it's erratic. It just randomly goes into the grid. If they had something that could charge whenever it is producing energy, then you could decide when to use the energy.
That's what makes it really interesting about those virus batteries.
Build up energy, and then when there's a lot of demand on the grid, you could be like, okay, I'll sell the grid my energy at a premium.
I mean, you can do that if you buy a Tesla wall. You can supply the grid with power if needed. People do that all the time when there's a power outage in like California or whatever. People will take a screenshot of their phone and be like, oh, look, I'm producing power for the grid, yay!
Yeah.
And yeah, for sure. There's even, I've read stories about people who are doing hydrogen fuel cells to power their land. And they're making their own hydrogen with solar panels. Which again,
that's kind of a good idea for a house. It's more stable. They were thinking about it for cars. And they're like, oh, we can't do this because they crash and then they'll explode.
I mean, they could.
One house isn't going to crash into another house.
Yeah.
There could be earthquakes, though.
I mean,
but
you could get around
I'm sure you could build a kind of gimbal system.
Yeah, if we can have a 200-story building survive an earthquake, I'm sure we can do it with a 2-story house that's holding some hydrogen.
Yeah.
So.
That's sustainable, man. There's a new kind of community that can be built.
Yeah, I think we're going on to another Voodoo Monkeys channel here.
Wow, this is
talking about renewable energy. We started on crypto here.
Well, it's all these like new things, new world
that they all can connect.
What would they be called? New world.
I don't know. It's just the digital age,
inventions. New world inventions. New world revelations. Do you think Bitcoin is a revelation?
Yeah.
New world revelation. Bitcoin.
Because it's really interesting. Satoshi, in one of his emails, said he equated decimal 001 Bitcoin to 1 euro. So that would mean that the price of Bitcoin should be 1,000 euros. It is a little more than 1,000 euros.
Yeah, he's seen his goal through.
So,
and I mean, that was a lofty goal. Like, this is going to start out less than a penny, but it's going to be worth 1,000 euros a day.
Yeah.
And now here it is, just
still going.
Way more than 1,000.
Still going strong.
What it would be like, 8,000 euros? No, because 8,000, so it would be like 6,000 euros?
I think we can look here. If we go to Mr. BTC Euro.
Still 8,000.
8,000 euros, so 8 times as much as Satoshi.
Wait, should I go? Yeah, okay. 8 times as much.
I mean, I guess that means the US dollar and the euro got closer together. The euro. Yeah, they got closer together. I think. Maybe I'm just used to the Canadian exchange kind of thing. I don't know. That looks pretty bad, though. That doesn't compare to the Canadian dollar, though. It's pretty shit.
Yeah, there's a crash there. I wonder if that's from... Was it Greece?
Could have been. Step 17. Dead. 18 and came back. Yeah, but then we go for CAD USB here.
WTF.
Right? Just depressing. And it doesn't make sense to me because it's like you look at housing prices and yeah, there's certain places where a lot more, but it's like the average in the States was, I don't know, probably just under 100,000. The average in fucking Canada is like 150, 200,000. If you want a garage, doesn't matter what size, at least add another 100,000.
Yeah.
And it's because, well, definitely because of our weather. We need nicer houses.
Yeah. And, I mean, kind of makes me appreciate it more, right? Like, we have to.
Yeah.
It's kind of all we can get for a while, and it's like, I don't know. I definitely think about that stuff a lot.
We live in the most
Canada has really high quality of life. Like that's
it sure does.
Maybe connected.
It sure does, but where does it cost money to live the fancy life, right? World runs on debt. Because apparently some people in the States they're enjoying collecting their government money a little too much, so they're deciding to just quit their job because they're getting paid too much from the government. But it's like they only get that money from the government if they have a job still. So if they don't have a job, I think they have to pay it back. So if they don't have a job, it's like, how are you going to pay that back? I don't know. It's going to be a shitstorm next tax season. An absolute shitstorm. Because that brings me on to crypto tax in Canada. I looked into this. Me and a coworker. As far as we could read, first off, it says it's illegal to own Bitcoin in Canada. It's legal.
Okay.
If you do make money on Bitcoin, it is a 50% capital gain tax. So if you have $100 on the exchange and you do some day trading and you make $10, you have to give the government $5. Have to.
What if you lose $10 the next day?
Then it goes the other way. They'll give you $5. Apparently, I don't know. That's what the government site says. But there's also a hyperlink that says to go to.
So it's like you getting in it is half the government getting in it.
Capital gain. So
capital gain.
Whatever you gain.
So like
it would be like you have the $10
kind of thing. Like if you make profit,
then you give 50%.
Then you gotta give some away. But if you lose, they soften the blow.
Yeah.
So they're just like.
Well, again, I don't know. They probably won't. They're like, why the hell are we giving them money?
Let's spread this out. Let's smooth these curves.
But that's like it's kind of confusing because it's like, well, if it's illegal to own crypto, why are we paying income tax on it? And also,
wait, it's illegal doing crypto.
Yeah.
To have crypto.
It's illegal to own Bitcoin, apparently.
What the hell?
Yeah, and there was a hyperlink.
No, that doesn't make any sense. What the fuck? I was hoping Canada would be like the last place that all the internet would be free and we could do like we could own crypto. We would not like have to use Netflix to watch something or like we don't have to use the same thing. Don't have to choose Google, right? Like. Service providers and stuff. You know that in the States they passed the bill that ended net neutrality, and that's tragedy.
Oh, it does. Our legal
allows the use.
Oh, they're not considered legal tender.
Not considered legal tender. Okay.
But Canada allows the use of digital currencies.
So
but how is it not a legal tender?
So I can't say that my Bitcoin is worth this much Canadian dollars.
Yeah, so again, if it's not worth legal tender, how can you tax it?
Oh, so you can't like pay at a store with it.
You can. You can if you want to. That's the only thing slowing down Bitcoin. And Coinbase has their own card where you can load it up with Bitcoin. You can go use it at a store. It will instantly exchange your Bitcoin for fiat, give them fiat, and it will take it out of your Bitcoin account.
What's the kind of fee for that, though? Do they charge
probably,
you every time you use that?
They probably would. Again, it's cryptocurrency. It's all done digitally, automatically. It probably wouldn't be much. Again, banks have fees because that's how banks work. They love their juicy fees. Look at a mortgage. And people are like, oh, an interest rate fee is only like 2 and some %. Yeah, but if you look at your 30-year mortgage, say we're going to go buy a $150,000 house. Your interest on top of that's probably, I don't know, $80,000.
Like, I wonder who else is going to be in Bitcoin. You know that there's those homeowners that are like, we want some Bitcoin. You know, there's all these guys in the Valley Medicine hat. You got the Hex 8? Or
Hut 8.
Hut 8? You know, there's programmers, right? Computer computer guys.
I can give you some
girls.
names again if you really want to know a bunch more.
Ladies and gentlemen involved probably in Bitcoin.
Oh yeah.
Probably not all good people too.
Paul Jones. Have you ever heard of Paul Jones?
I just heard of Paul Jones.
Yeah, he's the guy. He's the big hedge fund guy that says I'm doing 2% Bitcoin, and he is the guy who is setting the trend.
Into some Bitcoin.
He's the guy where if you are in a separate hedge fund and you also do that, and people start pointing fingers, accusing you, what are you doing? All you have to do is point. Well, Paul Jones did it. And that's all you have to do. You're in a $1 billion hedge fund, and people are questioning your investment in Bitcoin. Paul Jones did it.
The great machine has evolved. He's pointing to it. There you go. Yeah, it's like there's where the value is.
And again, the big institutes, big investors, they're jumping in. They're not telling you right. Well, I mean, if you jump on YouTube and watch their daily videos, oh hell yeah, they're telling you. But the news companies, they're just kind of like, oh, Bitcoin, it's doing a thing. That's what they do.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the reporters are in reporting. They don't really get what Bitcoin is. They're like, we don't really need to get it that much. Like, let's tell them that it exists and don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's some approaches, I guess.
Yeah, and some people are, and again, the next video that came out today with this Mr. Digital Asset News, there's some people out there that are saying, it's fine that we're all printing money, it happens, look at China's debt to GDP, it's okay that the States is going to go up, and say, it's okay. That big debt number doesn't actually matter. It doesn't, it can just keep growing. And there is more, like there is more videos on it. There's, oh shit, I have to go find it, but yeah, if it doesn't matter, then why are all these huge people switching into Bitcoin and it's being called digital gold, it's a digital asset? Again, the people call it a currency. That's really scary. If it's a currency, we're already doomed.
Yeah, like I said, like I wonder who else is in Bitcoin. Like the more I think, the more I grow in my learning of the internet. It's an internet of people.
It is.
So, I mean, of those internet people, how many of them have Bitcoin too? And that's pretty cool. It's like, oh, since you're an internet person, I'm an internet person, we all got Bitcoin. Here, I wonder what could happen, right?
Well, you just got to share your wallet kind of a thing, and if you're smart enough,
most
you
of that
can
is
go,
kind of like visible, isn't it?
Yeah, if you're smart enough, you can go see all the wallets. There's no names attached to them. They're just odd numbers.
But if you share that, I mean, if you become privy to that, you'd be like, did you know that's my wallet? Or like maybe you're part of a wallet or something, right?
Yeah, like there's people that know Satoshi's wallet. People are watching it like a hawk. Nothing's moved from it since, I don't know, 2008 or whatever when it was created. Mm-hmm. Still has 918,000 Bitcoin in it, something like that. An absolute stupid amount. It's just insane. And again,
what would happen if that got cracked, though? Would it devalue Bitcoin?
It would. If it hit the market all at once, it would. Just because of the order book of Bitcoin. Because it's something that's always running. There's always an order book. People always have money into it to buy it at certain values. So if it does drop, then they can just buy in without being right there at the computer, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what's keeping it from dropping. Is there's more and more people doing that. And exchanges are definitely saying that. They're like, oh my god, there's like the Serb checks amount in the States on the exchanges. They say the amount of the Serb checks that's being deposited is insane. Or not Serb, that's Canada is Serb. They're fucking, I don't know, they're Czech.
Are they getting the same amount?
They're getting $1,200 or something. But again, our dollar's garbage, so that's probably worth $2,000 Canadian.
Things cost less too there.
They sure do. Why do you think you go? Why do you go to the States to buy stuff and they come here? But it's like, why would they come here? Everything's made in the States. Nothing is made in Canada anymore.
Just custom stuff.
In some way.
Yeah, resources. We literally just ship our resources out.
Yeah, which is we just give away our resources.
Take it. We'll give it to you. Yeah, give us a bad deal for it.
Instead of, storing it and using it for like the oil for the truckers. Well, we could lower our shipping costs by having cheaper fuel in our own country. Yeah. No. We might as well just fucking sell it to another country.
Yep.
Let's get the money now. Let's not help the little man or anything.
There's trade deals where we literally have to give our our resources get priority to the states. Like the oil has to go to the states over us in certain conditions.
Yeah.
Part of a trade deal. What the fuck?
It's stupid. Oil
we're less important off the bat.
Did you see oil went to negative $40 one day? Oil went negative. Yeah. They had nowhere to put it. The oil companies, essentially, the oil companies were basically saying, we have nowhere to put this. Here's some money, here's some oil, just get it out of here, right? Because the thing was, tankers, people were charting oil tankers with no destination. It was, go load up on oil and go sit in the ocean and we'll wait for a sail.
Holy.
Yeah, and the charters for those tankers went up 600% over that time frame. And that was a small time frame. Over 2 months, and that was like 3 months ago or something, 4 months ago. Really scary. It was like the time on the news around here.
That just makes it more real. I mean, it's that scary all the time.
It is. In Alberta, did you hear a few weeks ago, a barrel of monkeys cost more money than a barrel of Albertan crude. Like, the little plastic barrel of monkeys? A barrel of monkeys was more than our barrel of crude.
Holy shit. What the fuck is that about?
Right? It's like, why are we continuing with this dead resource? Why not we stick to renewable energy?
Yeah,
that's where the money's at. And recycling. I believe the money's also in recycling.
Gotta be strong. In recycling.
Recycling.
I was thinking we could use more recycling since most of it gets burnt or compacted or just
thrown on the ground in what's called a dump. And they
put
just
it in a landfill.
Or put it on the barge and push it into the ocean.
That doesn't happen out here. That happens in South American countries and stuff where they don't have the same kind of restrictions.
But think about this for a second.
Some of it will get in the river maybe, but at the same time, we still don't. The whole thing with China closing its doors to recycling. We used to give a lot of garbage to China. A lot of recycling that we didn't want to deal with. Maybe they'll recycle it. No, they burned it. They buried it. They dumped it in the ocean and shit like that. Too. But, we knew it was going on. But, nobody else got told. Right? They wasn't news. They, must not tell anybody about this. We have to not let people panic about recycling.
But think about this. Remember back in the day before cell phones, people would watch Star Trek and they would have their little cell phones on there, and all of a sudden it was a thing and it was like, wow, that's the future and whatnot. Have you ever watched Futurama? There was an episode of Futurama, I think it was the first probably 2 episodes. Leela's like, yeah, everything's recycled in the future, Fry. This is made of those, and Fry was eating a sandwich. She's like, your sandwich is made out of old recycled sandwiches. It's like, what? That's apparently in the future. That could be the future. Maybe not as far as sandwiches, but yeah, everything should be recycled. They figured out how to pull oil back out of tires, but it's not cost effective at all.
Mm-hmm.
I
think that that reminds me of batteries, recycling batteries, and having big chemical batteries that you can wash out the parts and refill them and reuse them.
Yeah.
There's less waste. Reusing a lot of stuff works the same every time. And then you hook that up to a wind turbine, and we just got to get better and better at making the wind turbines so they don't burn out after 20 years, which really sucks.
And that's what I think about those the virus batteries.
And then do that same thing with selling energy to the grid too, or using that energy to power your mining machine. Going back to Bitcoin.
Yeah, right back to Bitcoin, because that's the other thing.
Mine some Bitcoin, sell some energy, get some ideas.
Yeah, other thing that gives renewable energy or even energy.
New revelations
needed for Bitcoin.
How to live in the new Renaissance.
One day,
if you can do it, do it.
Do it.
Just do it.
Buy some Bitcoin. Yeah, won't regret it.
And it wouldn't have on any
you
recyclable
could look
batteries.
at the price one day and feel like you're regretting it, but just wait another 5
That's
years.
just a bunch of money for feeling good.
Alright, I think that's
It's
all
about
I have
more
for
than-
right now.
More than feeling good. Yeah, so that was a whole hour in itself. See, when you go on a little bit of a different spot, it's like, wait, how long was that anyways?
Yeah.
And that concludes this episode of the Voodoo Monkeys. Tune in next time for more.